Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today on the program Woman to Woman. I'm yours sincerely, Adesu Walsawage. Yes, sincerely yours today. Today, we want to look at a topic that concerns you. Although parenting is supposed to be a two-partner thing, father, mother, but in some homes you find single parents. What do you want single parents to do? Of course, they will parent their children. But unfortunately, we're not parenting our children the way we should parent our children. Fostering emotional intelligence in kids is what we want to do today in our children. Have you ever heard that saying, kids are human? Well, for some persons, kids are just kids. There's nothing human about them for some persons. But I tell you today that kids are human. So we want to teach ourselves how to foster emotional intelligence in our kids. We want to bring up children that you'll be so proud of, children that will make waves in society, children that you'll be so proud of, that will be good ambassadors of your name. But at the rate we are going, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow as regards our kids. So we're going to be talking to a seasoned person who knows so much about this. I've seen quite a number of her posts on social media. I've seen how she treats kids. I've seen her activities with children, and each time you see them, you think this is a group of good friends, not teacher-pupil or teacher-student relationship. You see them as a bunch of jolly good fellows. How did she achieve that? How did she get those children to be what they are? So today she's going to educate us a little bit. Though 25 minutes is not enough, but we'll try. We'll try and see what we can get out of it. So if I were you, I would sit tight and watch this program to not just for entertainment, but to get one or two, like what we see on the streets, to get sense, So today I'm going to be speaking with Dr. Shola Okonkpolo. She is an international development expert with focus on education and finance, a certified life coach, seasoned public speaker, and passionate advocate for banking integrity. I can go on and on. She's also a former executive director of the Edo State Agency for Adult and Non-Formal Education. She's got a whole lot of things to be said about her, but let's just leave this one and leave the rest for another day. So, Dr. Shola Okonkpolo, nice having you on the program. It's been a while.
Yes,
I only see you on social media these days. I'm doing so much.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
And let me say thank you for what you do for the kids.
Thank you.
And I hope I'm going to learn too from you
Absolutely.
today. All right, today we want to look at fostering emotional intelligence in children. And I know a lot of people believe that kids don't really have a say in the affairs of things, a child cannot ask the mother or father why. You're ordering the children. We don't discuss anymore. You order the children around and the child cannot say why. The child cannot ask questions. The child seems not to have a mind of his or her own when it comes to talking to parents. They'll rather talk to people outside. So let's start with this. Emotional intelligence. Please talk to us. What is emotional intelligence in children?
Okay, thank you so much, Adesu. It's always a pleasure being here.
Thank you.
And sorry for the sabbatical. I'll try and make myself available often.
Okay, thank you. I like that.
So we cannot talk about emotional intelligence in children without talking about social emotional development.
Oh, okay.
So social emotional development is the framework or the building blocks of emotional development. It simply means having children develop from infancy to before teenage years, develop emotionally, social-emotionally. They're able to express themselves. They're able to understand sharing, right? They're able to understand sharing. They're able to understand instruction, structure, right? So when you find a child, for example, who understands what it means to share with his mates in the playground as part of the social-emotional development, that's the child who becomes empathetic as an adult. So the challenge is that we are having kids who are social-emotionally bankrupt. And that's why fostering socio-emotional development in children is almost impossible, because there are no building blocks of socio-emotional development.
How did we get there?
Okay, so one of the reasons leading to that is the focus has been moved to all academics, right? And I say it always, what is the essence of academics for a child who is socially misfit?
Wow.
What is the purpose of a degree that cannot be converted into anything useful? Right, so the challenge with poor socio-emotional development is that educators are not even aware of the importance. Parents do not even understand why your child is supposed to be appropriately socio-emotionally developed. Right, so you find children now, something happened, I think, in Osun State. A child, a young man, I think was in medicine, very recently, didn't do well in his MBBS exams, and the options before him was to take it for the last time or drop out. He committed suicide. That child has not gone through the process of understanding no, right? And this is because of the way children are rushed educationally now. The focus is on grades. And then it hurts me as an educator where you see children, you say my child is 4 years old, is in grade 1, and we're bragging about it. What happened?
4 years old and in grade 1
yes,
already?
Yes. Oh, my child is 14, is in the university, is 15. It doesn't make any sense. Degrees don't make man. The grades doesn't make the child. The child makes the grades. And if we don't go back to that platform where the child development must be holistic. It's not just because, let me give you an example. The very fact that you can consume a bag of rice does not mean they are going to force feed you with a bag of rice. It means you can finish a bag of rice over a period of time. But what do we find now? Somebody says she can eat a bag of rice, and so open your mouth and they put it in. That's not how children work. There are developmental milestones. There are cognitive developmental milestones that a child must go through. So the fact that a child is very smart has nothing to do with the fact that those stages of development must be met.
Not jettisoned.
Which is what is happening now. So children who do not know how to share, do not understand interpersonal relationships, become emotionally bankrupt adults. Right? So we can't have children who understand emotional intelligence if we don't go back to social emotional development in children.
So can you please take us through the steps, at least some of the steps of taking our children through all of
So the
this?
very first thing is to create an enabling environment. The truth of the matter is that a child is not any different from you. The difference between you and I and a child is that the child does not have an advanced vocabulary to express how he feels. Otherwise, every single thing that you feel, a child feels it. Every single way. The way you feel like you do not want to get up in the morning sometimes, he feels that way. And because we don't have enabling environment in school and in homes where kids can confidently express themselves. We say in education that behavior is communication, right? A child is throwing tantrum, the child is communicating. A child is unwilling to share, the child is communicating. A child is reserved, the child is communicating. A child has a problem with communicating with a particular person, not by saying, but the way the child is withdrawing, is communication. And so as caregivers, as minders, as parents, as people who handle children, you must take the pains to observe children.
Even the parents at home don't have time to observe children. When a child throws tantrum, the next thing we're flogging that child.
But that child is communicating.
That child.
We say help the child label the feeling. How are you feeling? And why are you feeling like this? So a child that knows that I am going to be listened to, and listening to doesn't mean you are going to agree with that child. Okay. Yes, one of the things we do at our center is I tell them, let the child say everything that the child wants to say. Let the child say. There's so much children say that they are not saying.
You don't shut the child up.
You do not do that. It helps the child develop not just a robust vocabulary, it also engenders confidence, which is a key part of emotional intelligence. Self-regulation is a skill set that is featured in emotional intelligence. Self-awareness empathy, interpersonal skills, people skills, all of that are not formed as adults. All of that are formed from social emotional development that moves into emotional intelligence. So the enabling environment must be created, and the key part is we must move from judging children by academic performance. I do not have a problem with a child doing well academically, but I'm saying, what is the cost to that? When your child brings the result at the end of the term, what do you appraise? I have 2 kids, and I tell you, one did better academically than the other, and it has nothing to do with how I view those children. Until we stop appraising children on how many A's and how many C's.
But that is what is happening in our society today.
We are going to have that.
A parent does not give ear to a child who is not making such grades. You rather prefer a child who comes home with fantastic grades. That is your child. That is why parents are usually proud of such kids.
Yes.
And then the ones that are not doing so well
Yes.
are usually left behind.
So how do you say a child is not doing so well? Because the child didn't have 9 A's and that child is not doing well. You and I live in the real world. Who runs this world right now? Who runs this world? The people who are emotionally intelligent, the people who are social-emotionally developed are the ones running the world. Yeah. People who understand, who can read people are the ones running the world. The people who can, from a distance, know what your non-verbal cues are saying, they are the ones running the world. The politicians are those who understand people. Yeah, the people who have the intelligence to do so much are not social, because once that child reads, I just want to see my child read. I don't have a problem with children being academically sound. But my take is that there must be a balance. We must balance it.
Okay, now we have mothers doing the job of raising children.
Yes.
A lot of times fathers don't really have time for that.
Yes.
And so it now boils down to the mother to try and understand the kids. But unfortunately...
But we're having a generation of fathers that we must commend now.
Yes.
I see a rising trend, and we must commend such fathers now. Yes, we must commend fathers. I see them now. I saw one today who told me the father was more concerned about the child's cognitive development, and the father was giving me the child's medical history. And I was like, okay, what can I buy for you?
Wow.
So we're having a resurgence of involved dads.
That's fantastic.
Yes, we're having that now.
Then I have to
Yes.
rearrange my question.
Yes,
Okay, now,
yes.
I want to ask how parents, let's use the word parents now, how
Yes.
parents can really understand their children, because nowadays the father works, the mother works, the children are left at home, maybe with house help or relatives. Otherwise, we dump them in school, we do summer school, we do everything to make sure we don't have time for those kids.
Yes.
Now, how do we begin to recognize our children as humans? How do we begin to understand what they feel so that we can foster this emotional intelligence in these children? Because we want a better Nigeria.
Yes, yes.
We want children that you'll be so proud of.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's my child. Oh, that's my neighbor's child. You know, stuff
Yes,
like that. Not
yes.
somebody you see and you want to run away. And like you said, from everything you've said, charity begins from home. But unfortunately, charity these days begins from the school. Sometimes, not all the time.
A lot of the times, charity is now in school.
So, how do we get parents to get involved? Just having kids is not enough. Paying their school fees is not enough.
Yes.
Get involved in that child's life. How do we bring parents to start all of this?
Okay, so the very first thing is, you must know that being a parent is a privilege. And your role as a parent is beyond paying fees and meeting the material needs of your children, which is what a lot of parents do now, what we call guilt parenting.
Guilt parenting.
Yes, the economic situations has made it such that you are not always available on an emotional level, and it's not really the fault of the parents. Bills have to be paid, so you get home, and then how do you compensate? You're buying items, children are using things that they really have no business in.
Okay.
Gadgets, devices, clothes, and to the parents, you have done a good job, but that's not true.
Okay.
As parents, it's not enough to provide materially for your kids.
But that's what we do these
Yes.
days. A child cries, you're dropping
Yes.
one something for that child to play with, or you're buying one gadget or one Just anything.
I told somebody a few days ago, I said, parent education has become so important now. Yeah, okay. So the first thing is a lot of parent education. Schools need to do better with educating parents. It's not enough to say they pay fees. Parents don't know any better. And if you don't know better, you can't do better. That look, how do, like we said, the school is now the home. The average parent leaves the house very early in the morning and gets back. And even those who don't leave the house early, they don't have the tools to properly parent their children. One of the first things we must do to foster emotional intelligence in children is to make our homes homes, right?
How do we make our homes
I said
homes?
Behavior is communication. It means instead of issuing commands, have conversations.
Okay.
Have conversations. The child has a lot to say. At our center, everything that the child says for me is important. Because, like I said, while the child may not have an elaborate vocabulary, if you pay attention enough, you know that the child is saying things, if you add it up together, it makes sense.
Makes sense.
For example, many children go through abuse, especially sexual abuse. And because nobody is listening, not just listening to what the child is saying, to what the child is not saying. If my child says, I don't want to go to this place, that child has expressed some form of social-emotional cues. Your job is to ask why, not to say, you must go.
You must go.
Right? If a child says, I don't want to eat this food, why don't you want to eat it? How are you feeling? Why? It doesn't take so much to have that conversation as parents.
But we don't have that time.
You cannot not have that time. And it's not like I said, if you have time to take your children to recreational centers, you have time to have that conversation. They sleep in the same house with you.
Okay.
If you have time to give them phones, you have time to have that. In fact, I tell you, screen time has damaged so many children now. Phones are now parenting. Phones are the parents of kids, forgetting that the internet is an uncharted highway. Even as an adult, you struggle to process some. You see what people do online, let alone children.
Let alone children.
So we must go back to getting to know them. Don't just recreate them as their parents. Get to know each of your children. I told you when we were coming that a lot of parents do not know jack about their children. They do not know what goes on. In fact, children have pseudo identities online that their parents are not even aware of.
Wow.
Now that brings me to the role of the school. Now, economic challenges has made it such that everybody is working. And even if you're present, half of your brain is covered by naira and kobo. Who is now vested with the responsibility of ensuring that these kids develop emotionally soundly? And that is the school. However, there's a problem. Between the school and the home, there is zero communication. I see too many parents go to schools and engage the school on things that do not matter to their child's future. If you give somebody your child to mind, the least you can do is ask questions. Ask questions. We have conversation around my child carry first this time, did not carry first again. The question is, why did that child not carry first? The outcome of the child's result is communication. It could be that a change of house help, a change of teacher, even as little as the birth of a sibling,
is enough.
I tell you, can alter how a child relates. Yes, the birth of a sibling that threatens the bubble of security a child has created. But parents don't know that. So they only feel that a child is running temperature. But what other things emotionally are going on in the minds of that child that will affect that child's interactions? A child that wasn't, I tell parents that before you change a child's school, have you had these conversations? The problem most times may not be for the school. What is wrong with the child? I once had a child that when you see her results, she was doing well in the results. No, she wasn't doing well academically. But when they write feedbacks, they have all sorts of praises.
For the girl.
And I asked the school, does it not tell you that this child is not presently present? That this child is not in school emotionally. So what she's well behaved, and then to you, she's a model student. But look at the grades of this child. The grade speaks to the child's lack of interest even though because we tag lack of interest as a child who is rebellious. But lack of interest features in so many ways. That child who doesn't talk to you is communicating. Why are you not communicating? Nobody's asking. So schools have to do a lot other than collect school fees. Schools have to start having parent. Sadly, the PTA that we have now is how much be school fees? I'm not going to pay this. It's a lot more than that. Where a parent and a teacher or an interested adult sits to discuss a child, that's a PTA. That's a PTA. And a school...
Unfortunately, that's not what we have today.
And a school is an educational hospital. We must take what a school is back, not where we sachetize children's future. How much lasts? I have 5 children. We now trade on children's destiny in the name of education. And nobody... Okay, for a child that is 2, that is going to school for the first time, that child is going to have separation anxiety symptoms. What is the provision for that child? But yet, in most schools, by 2nd week of resumption, you shove a pencil in that child's hand. He doesn't know the people that is teaching him. Nobody cares about how the child feels. The mother is, that my friend Pikin, he done the right 1 to 500. My Pikin never the right, oh. Like I said, to what end is grades if it doesn't make the child better as a human being? Everybody is a graduate now, but you can't find an employable young person because the skill sets to support those grades are lacking. So we must go back. Schools must do better. This is the responsibility of schools.
Okay.
The children stay with us longer. Yeah, so schools must do better.
But schools nowadays, like you said, don't really have time. So how do parents recognize a school that would do a lot
Ask questions.
to bridge that gap? You know, between the home and school is a big gap. And sometimes parents don't even have time to talk to their kids. You go to work, by the time you come back, the kids are probably maybe sleeping or you want to do something. So we are pushing it back to the school now. How do we as parents recognize the school that will be of huge benefit to our children to bridge that gap?
The first thing every parent will do is, I said it earlier, number 1, yes, fees are important in the choice of a school because you don't want to take a child to a school you cannot afford. But far before fees, ask questions. What we find now, Ma, is a scenario where I want to bring my child to your school. Or you want, and then you are asking me, how much is the school fees? That's your consideration.
That's the first thing.
But the main consideration is this, you know, we have so many mad people now on the streets. Who is this person that is going to be minding my child? That is the card. It's just like a doctor. You cannot go to the hospital and say, I'm not fine. And then, how much less is what you're asking? No. When you go to the hospital, you want to go through tests. So parents must know better than begin to have conversations around price alone. Before we talk about price, who are you?
Dr. Shola, let's conclude in 30 seconds.
Yes, who are you? What are your values? What are your competency levels to mind my children? Because you leave those children with the school from 8 to most times 4, almost 365 days of the year.
Sometimes 5.
So the key part is parent education. Parent education to ask for better services in terms of who you are before the fees.
Wow, Dr. Shola, I wish we could go on and on and on, but unfortunately, this is where we're going to wrap it up. I want to believe that you've learned a thing or two because I've learned quite a lot. When I go home now, I'm going to see my kids in a different light.
Absolutely.
Like I was telling you that my daughter was kind of distancing herself from me, and then I had to ask why. And she said, this is it. I was surprised. I didn't even know I was doing such.
And she has a lot to say.
She's got a lot to say, and we're going to start talking. And so I hope you do that too, so that we can have a better future with our kids. Thank you, Dr. Shola, for finding time to be with us.
Thank you.
All right, guys, we'll see you again Wednesday next week. Bye-bye.